Good afternoon. Good night, Shabbos, everybody. Don't know if it's going to be the last week that we're doing this. Hopefully, we'll be back together, so to speak, and be able to do this. And be able to do this live. I would like to just discuss something about our situation today. I believe that, as we discussed last week, we're right now in transition, and we have to. Each of us has to find our place where we are. The Sfarim HaKadoshim tell us that normally counting is not a good thing, and here we have in parshas Bamidbar, or as it's called in English, the Chumash of numbers, were counted again and again and again. And the Sfarim HaKadoshim tell us that the point of counting for Ruchnius is we're telling you what your place is and where you're supposed to be doing to give you a direction, your avodas Hashem. That's the point of the counting in these. That's the point of the counting in this week's parsha. So that's why this counting, there's no negative, there's no danger involved. It's only a Ruchnius betterment. Sometimes we have the Yetzer Haras to do mitzvahs. Sometimes we have the Yetzer Haras to do averos. It's hard to know what a person is supposed to be doing. Some people are not sure if they should go to shul, shouldn't go to shul. And I would say as follows: if you're not sure, probably stay at home. I'll tell you as follows. My grandfather, Older Shalom, used to say, and later on in life I learned this from others, that if it feels difficult beforehand and feels good afterwards, it probably was a mitzvah. And if it feels good beforehand and afterwards you don't feel so satiated, it probably was an avera. I do believe that there are two different aspects. There's an aspect you want to go back to shul, and there's an aspect of danger. A person has to know, does he really have a shiloh, or he doesn't have a shiloh, and he has to make that decision. You have to count on yourself. You have to find out for yourself, where are you supposed to be? Are you supposed to be in those going in and those going out? There are two different mafarshim from this week's parsha that discuss the mishmeres that the Leviim had in the Beis HaMikdash. And I would like to discuss both of them because both of them are pertinent whether you're for the people that are going to be going to shul or not. Some people may say, well, I decided my health, whatever the situation is, that I'm not going to shul, and therefore let them go to shul and I'm going to stay at home. The Malbim on this week's parsha, on the pasuk of Mishmartim Mishmeres Bnei Yisrael, tells us that which the Leviim did their service, their avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, they were representing the rest of Klal Yisrael. It wasn't their job; it's Klal Yisrael's job, and they're just the man in the front office. But the rest of Klal Yisrael is in the back office. So even though there's a person who cannot come to shul for whatever reason it may be, he should probably find a way or something to do to help out, create, attach himself to that which is going on. One of the things which I'd like to mention, for those people who are not, I don't know what kind of Pesach Minyanim are still going to be going on, but if somebody's davening at home alone, they should daven at the same time as we're davening in shul. Because the person is supposed to daven, this Tzibur Bispalo. Our tzibur is davening. You have to check out the newsletter to find out exactly when we're davening each tefillah. And then you can have an early Shabbos, late Shabbos, early Ma'ariv, late Ma'ariv, but you should daven together with somebody else, the rest of the kehillah. And a person has to find some way, if you can't be there physically, to be there, give moral support, financial support, eitzes, not criticism, eitzes, some way that you can help out to make yourself part of the tzibur that is getting itself back together. That's the first thing I'd like to say. The second thing which I'd like to say is that Shan Shafal Hirsch, in this week's parsha, he tells us about the kelim that are found in the Mishkan, and it brings to mind the kelim which it speaks about the Isha Shunamis. He doesn't say this is my analogy. The Isha Shunamis said about Elisha, Ishkodesh Bo'aleinu, and therefore we should make for him an apartment, and they made there a kisei shulchan v'menorah. The kisei shulchan and menorah, Chazal tell us, these are the furnishings of a person's home. These are the furnishings, and that's called a complete home. For some reason, The rest of it, your refrigerator, doesn't say that. Your computer doesn't say that. I don't know why the Levim didn't have a computer, but for whatever reason it may be, could be just wasn't holy enough for them. For whatever reason it may be, the bottom line is that this week's parsha, we have the Mishkan and the Achrayis to make sure that our home stays the Mikdash Ma'at. Many of us have the custom as Sukkot departs to go back into the Sukkah and to say special Hiratza. It's a story told about a Jew at the end of the Second World War when they were being liberated out of the concentration camps. The Americans came and he was being liberated. He said 1 minute. He ran back into his barracks and he came out a minute or two later with a big smile. Someone said, "What were you doing in there?" He said, "I know that living in there brought me a special kirva to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I know that when I leave there, that special connection that I have is going to dissipate. I wanted to say one more tefillah there." It's a beautiful thought. Avada, we should go back to life, done with a million, if and when we can. But we have to understand there was an edgar, there was a growth. There was something that happened. We should not forget about it. We should incorporate it into our lives for the next billion years, for the rest of eternity. It's very important that we take with us the lessons, the Kedusha. And my sister, she should be well. She told me in the beginning of the Corona event in America, she said, "I am sure that the reason why this is happening is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to daven and to learn in our homes, to give our homes extra Kedusha, so that when Mashiach comes, our homes will be roy to be transported to Eretz Yisrael. Our homes in Beit Shemesh should be roy to be transported to Yerushalayim. If we keep our home the way that we had it before, and we forget about those hours of tefillah, those hours of kedusha that we had, we are forgetting about the furnishings of our home. Our home was a home, it was a beis medrash, was a beis hakneses, and that kedusha which we had in there should continue to stay in there, and we should continue to daven in shul. May we all be zeicha to see each other live and well, and mitzvah Hashem shalom neidash lo shoy b'shever b'gvulenu. All of us together and each of us individually should have grown from the situation. Our tefillos, as I wrote in the letter, which was circulated yesterday, our tefillos, whether they are barabim, whether they are b'yachid, should be uplifted. We have that situation that Kadosh Baruch Hu is lending his ear to our tefillos. What we have is our attention. This is the time that we should storm the heavens. And amidst Hashem, though some of us are going back to Avas Shalom, that's wonderful. But as the Medrash says, when they built the Beis Hamikdash, the second one, the older people were crying and the younger people were glad. The older people were crying because it didn't compare to the glory of the first one. We should also be crying. Yes, we're happy to be back where we were, but we would rather be in a different place in Yerushalayim, Abnuya, B'mheira, B'mheira. Good Shabbos.